And I prefer to use that rather than, well, that's not real socialism and that's not real communism.
Yeah.
When you look at central planning and collectivism, what it did to Venezuela should be a case study as much as what it did to the Soviet Union, what it did to Russia, what it did to Zimbabwe, what it's doing all across Africa to these countries. What happened there in Venezuela? Can you talk about that a bit? Because it's really important that people understand this top-down idea of central planning destroys rich countries like Venezuela.
Yeah, I can remember when I was practicing law in Atlanta, reading some article by like The Guardian or something saying Hugo Chavez has proven that socialism works. It may not have said exactly that, but that was the message that the article was trying to convey. And wow, it didn't take very long to explode that theory. And the main thing about central planning is it doesn't work. And one reason why is the pricing mechanism. On markets, you have innumerable consumers making everyday purchases about what they need, and no centralized body of people can have access to all of that dispersed information. And so when people multiplied across society make very localized decisions, in the aggregate, we get something called pricing. And that's not something that anybody can calculate. Not even the smartest AI can calculate it, because it's people, forecasting their basic needs on a day-to-day basis. And AI is not, doesn't have it. You mentioned crystal ball. AI doesn't have a crystal ball. And so we need the markets to set pricing, because no centralized body can actually do that. And when pricing is mismatched with market demand, then you get all kinds of problems, and including inflation, and including erroneous institutional structures. When governments are trying to plan around what they do, they can't get accurate information. Basically, if you don't have accurate information, you can't plan. And so the whole central planning notion, which is predicated on just that, planning, falls apart because you don't have the information necessary to plan.
That goes all the way back to Hayek, the knowledge problem once again. I wish we had more time. We could talk about Mises and Hayek, because I love what they've done. I love their understanding of how the world works. I wish that they wrote for me, but like I said, when I read Hayek, I'm like, or Mises, I'm like, man, you did not write this for me. You wrote this for another economist who understands this. That's why I love Thomas Sowell so much, because he can talk about these things in a way that I can digest. But it is all about that. One of these times we're going to have you back, because there is a war going on that is bipartisan. I'm going to touch on it a little bit Friday, I think, but it is a bipartisan war against economics. And I'm seeing it from both Republicans and Democrats. And the latest salvo in this is in Maryland, where they're trying to outlaw dynamic pricing. And that once again goes to, you've got to let prices do their things. And when you start meddling in prices, then, as we've said, you get there's a common thing. You get two things with price controls: surpluses and shortages. I say you get three things. You get surpluses, shortages, and then the black market. But unfortunately, I don't think we're going to have time to talk about the war on economics this morning. So I appreciate you being here. Great conversation. I want to have you back.
Yeah.
Open to that?
Yeah, that sounds great, Duane. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
You bet. And I love your background. The books are important. And maybe come back on and talk about what you're reading, too. I'd love to hear that. So Unfortunately, not today. I appreciate you being here, Alan Mendenhall. This is the Duane Lester Show. We'll be right back.